And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and welcome to another episode of Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York. In tonight's scene, we will see young Maebh, the freshly minted Cleith, returning to Sept, and after a moment taken to thoroughly cleanse herself, she'll find herself a place to slip across the gauntlet and into the Sept, because as we all know, especially as evening comes on, the park is more heavily patrolled and people are paying a little bit more attention than is really wanted. So, Maeve will enter the Sept, probably having tucked her bag o' books off into the brush somewhere where she can collect them later. Or maybe send Lucas to get them since he can be a fucking ninja. In fact, she's gonna send Lucas to get them. So, that done, she'll wander in, probably looking, keeping an eye out for her friend as well. But inevitably, she's going to beeline towards the rock and the cub cabin surrounding, because after all, she's seen some things today, and this is the age of information, and it must be passed on. So, if Garrett is not Umbraside, it means she's going to be taking a minute to step back across again.
Yeah, he'll be in the Tellurian. And when she finally steps over and sees him there, he's got some stuff written down in the dirt. Well, not written down, more like drawn out. He's got like a few circles, like 4 of them to be exact, and he's just kind of eyeballing them, rubbing his chin as he stares at them.
And she'll go ahead and meander that away. Hey, Garrett.
And then, broken out of his concentration, then he looks up. Yeah, what's up?
And she'll kind of glance down at the circles, but save her commentary for later. So, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I don't think you were with us at Christmas, were you, when we went to the mall?
Do I
Pretty
look
sure
like
we
the
dragged
kind of
someone
guy
else.
that goes to malls?
Well, not voluntarily, but someone got press ganged into going and helping keep an eye on us.
For Christmas shopping?
Yeah, I know. Anywho, there's a guy we met there, some friend of Cinna's, and I just saw him again today while I was at the park working on that garden. You know, the whole thing for spring.
Okay, and he gets a very concerned look on his face. Friend of Cinna's, you say?
I mean, that's the only place I've seen him before, is that Cinna knew him, and he seems
got a
to...
name?
His name's Daniel.
And he relaxes slightly, just slightly. Okay.
I just figured I'd let you know. He seems kind of uncanny aware of... Well, he remembered me by name. He mentioned time and again that he wasn't supposed to go near the park, and seemed to have a pretty good suspicion of what I was.
Well, what can you do? People have been a little open-mouthed, and Cinna was especially back when she was a kin,
She was a cub when we met him.
Well.
I mean, not necessarily anything. I just figured you'd like to know that there's some dude who's probably something himself, all
No.
things considered.
The name Daniel sounds familiar. I may have met him if it's the same guy. You know anything else about him?
Just that he had been told to stay away from Central Park and mentioned that other places were dangerous that were part of the whole, the whole lecture you get here. Stay out of Brooklyn, stay out of this, stay out of that.
Yep. Well, as long as he knows that and he honors it, whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
If it's the same Daniel I met, I think he's married to one of the mages, so...
He did say something about having to get home to his wife, so...
good chance, then.
Okay. Then that may be how he knows. So, and she'll kind of gesture idly down, stressing over this whole attack plan.
He gets a slight smile. Well, at least you realize that.
I mean, well, we have 3 packs. We have 3 storehouses and then the cult place, right?
Exactly.
So hit all 3 and then swoop in on the cult place, right?
That was what I was thinking.
Sounds like a good plan to me. Angsting over details?
Yeah, just trying to think it over.
I mean, if there's one place we have to hit last, that's probably the better one to choose.
Yeah. I still need to scout that place out. Oh. Since you're here, I've been meaning to talk to you about something.
What's up?
You found the culprit of the doll art display?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you find out?
Oh, it was just Senna.
You talked to her about it?
Yeah. And I mean, she just spent the whole time calling me an idiot for not understanding that dolls wrapped in thread with no other sort of identification, meaning that she was mad at me about my pack tactics.
Yeah. A little subtle.
Subtle? Really?
Well, what would you call it?
I would call it a really, really shitty attempt at getting a point across. I mean, she's always been the type to just say shit to your face. Why would she change it now? Except to be petty. And I mean, she admitted she was being petty, so... meh. Either way, my attitude is that she can have her opinion and has every right to it. And I understand where she's coming from, but in the end, when that fight happened, she was the ranking person there. If she wanted it to go different, she should have taken some lead in the battle.
She said she was choking.
She wasn't choking the whole time. It wasn't until the very end. And the only reason I switched places is because we'd had 2-on-1 against both spiders, and Adam ditched Nicholas while he was completely unable to move, and just left him to one of them. So once Adam had joined Senna, I switched. I told Adam to stay there, and I tried to get Nicholas out.
Not sure if that was the wisest move.
It may not have been.
Do you think you could admit to yourself that it wasn't?
Of course. I'm not saying it would have changed what I would have chosen to do in that moment if it happened again.
It should.
I can't just leave one of the cubs floundering in front of an enemy. That thing could have dragged him off like happened to Cinna last time.
And it was going to happen again had other people not shown up.
That's kind of the point, is other people were coming. In fact, by time I switched places, Katori was there and had summoned Uktena. We had backup.
But what if you hadn't?
If we hadn't had backup, I would have had to think about it differently, wouldn't I?
You're going to have to think about it differently. Because not all these attacks, or not all combat, I should say, happen conveniently at the bond of the Sept where backups readily available.
And if they happen somewhere else, I'll act differently. But this time it was on the bond, right where there was backup available and coming. In the end, weirdly enough, none of them actually seemed to be intent on doing damage, and with Adam on the one, even with Cinnabound, it couldn't drag her off. I didn't want Nicholas getting dragged off. We already had that happen once. I don't want to lose someone again.
But you knew backup was coming.
I did.
So why were you worried about Nicholas getting dragged off?
I was worried about it because at the time, the backup wasn't really doing much to help.
I heard he was still able to move.
Nicholas? No, he wasn't.
He could still swing, right?
No, he couldn't. He was completely bound up. That's why I went to his aid, because he couldn't move at all.
Interesting.
If he could have kept swinging, I probably would have just stayed there and helped them take down the one before moving to the other, but he couldn't move.
But you left the others to get wrapped up. Yeah.
It was the same as she had before that, which was the two of us fighting one. Just because the person changed doesn't mean that it's not still 2-on-1.
Three's better.
3's better, but for all I knew, Nicholas was suffocating.
And then it was just you and the other spider.
Like I said,
from
it
3
wasn't the
versus
best
1.
idea.
You changed it from 3 versus 1 to 2 versus 1 and 1 versus 1. And you were clearly already outmatched 2 versus 1.
I was trying to use Nicholas's cover. Didn't work very well.
No, that's not a good plan.
He's pretty gigantic.
There's no taking... Maebh. There's no taking cover in a melee like that.
What do you mean? It's not like they were moving around. They stayed in the tree the whole time. And did anyone point out to you, by the way, off the subject of whether or not I'm good at tactics, that when Katori Raya commanded the spider to leave, it's like it shook something off and just went back to normal behavior.
Nicholas told me.
Okay, good.
Said error corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to consult with someone about that.
If you will give me your blessing on it, I can try to talk to whatever pigeons or whatnot were around. See if any of them saw something before they came into the park. I know. But I've taken a lot of time with the spirits here, and usually they'll talk to me.
You can try. I just don't know how helpful they'll be.
It might not be.
I imagine the spiders came from a ways away. They probably wouldn't have seen anything.
It might not be, but it's worth asking just in case.
You just need to realize that in another time, if a similar situation happens, you've got to stick together. You've got to learn to make sacrifices.
And she suddenly gets a fairly stern look on her face. We're not just sacrifices.
We do our best. But there's a reason that one little tenet of the litany's there. And in some cases, I agree with it.
Well, in that case, I don't.
You're going to have to get over it. People don't always make it out alive. You should know that by now.
They don't. But when they can be retrieved and they can be recovered, we go through and we make all the effort to recover them like we did for Cinna. If you were that willing to write people off, we wouldn't have made that attempt. If that was the way the nation saw that tenet, we wouldn't have made that attempt.
That was also a time-sensitive capture where Cinna knew a lot of stuff.
And it wouldn't have been the same thing if Nicholas had been dragged off? Imagine if he lost his temper while they had him. At least Cinna knows enough to not say anything, or to find a way to make sure she doesn't. I'm not sure Nicholas can.
Well, if he would have gotten dragged off, then that would have been a capture, and there still would have been a 3 versus 1 situation. Then we would have mounted a rescue on Nicholas.
Or I could have trusted my Raya to aid them and worked on getting Nicholas out, which is what I did.
And as I said, you're not always going to have the option to rely on the Raya.
And when the option isn't there, I will make a different choice.
Did you explain that to Cinna?
I did. I also pointed out that at the time she was as capable of speaking as I was. She told me I should have told Katori to go and free Nicholas. I don't tell Katori to do anything. He is my Raya, and he's been my teacher. And he's a member of her pack. If she wanted the battle to go that way, she was just as capable of saying it as I was.
She said she was choking.
She was not choking yet. Not when Katori first got there.
She sounded pretty convincing when she said that.
And I'm not sure she remembers the whole thing because she had a complete breakdown after the web started flying. I almost did too.
Y'all both went through a lot of shit involving webs in the past. I realize that.
We may remember it different ways, but I made the choice I did, understanding things to be going the way that I've said them. If I was wrong, I was wrong, but from what I recall, Cinna was still perfectly capable of speaking when I moved.
Well, I'm hoping to see this thing ended.
As far as I know, it is ended. I told her that, like I said, I understand where she's coming from. I understand that she doesn't agree with what I did. But I also don't agree with what she thinks should have happened, and that if she wanted things to go a different way, she should have taken command of the field. She was the Raya until Katori showed up.
Well, I'm here to tell you, you probably should have stayed with her. It's a mistake. You learn it. You move on. That's what us Ragabashes do. We point that out so you can be better.
When the situation calls for it, I will do what's needed. I always do what I'm supposed to. In that situation, I could be spared. Because Katori was there, because Utena was there. If things had been any different, I wouldn't have. Do you still think that wasn't a fair call and that what I did was completely wrong under that information? Like, would that come to light?
I still think you should have stuck together.
Well, then, considering that you've come to me as someone who's offering advice, I'll take it. I'll keep it in mind.
Cinna needs to know that too.
Cinna needs to learn how to get her point across without being petty and nasty about it and making me look like I don't know what I'm doing. She wants to play stupid games.
Hey, I explained to her that was not the approach I would have taken with you.
She shrugs. It's the approach she's never taken before. I don't see any reason to start now except to try to pull some shit.
It was harrowing for her.
She's not the only one.
I understand. But she's also a Ragabash.
Maeve rolls her eyes. Saying I'm a Ragabash only gets you so far.
No, I agree. It's a buffer. It's not immunity. It was just a little case of not knowing your audience.
We were raised together.
That doesn't mean anything. You were raised together from the time y'all were cubs. You can't just discard the entire rest of the life that happened before that.
I understand that. I'm saying that she had plenty of time with me. At this point, she should know me better than you do.
She's still learning. She hasn't had the years I've had. To get to know someone, you know.
Yeah.
Ragabashes can learn too. This was a silly situation that went a little too far. And I need you to know, if it continues, and I'm not saying it will, or you have a reason to think it will, then I'm going to have to point you to the Master of Challenge.
I'm not challenging her over stupid pranks.
Good.
If
All
she
she
wants to
needs to
keep
know-
playing games, I can play games back.
She's not going to keep playing games. All she needs to know is that you learned something.
I don't think she deserves to know that I learned anything. She didn't make her point, you did.
No, but she got me talking. We call it tension. We're not always the one to teach the lesson.
If you don't actually teach the lesson, then what's the point? You can't question the ways if you don't actually ask the question.
You know the tale of the Emperor's new clothes, right?
Yeah. And the kid asked the question that applied to the problem.
Well, he said, hey, the Emperor's got no clothes.
Okay, but he still addressed the actual problem.
Yeah, but he wasn't the one that taught the lesson. It was the mocking of the rest of the crowd that did it. If it had just been a kid, then he just would have been the boy who cried wolf.
I still don't feel like I should have to reward Cinna for a shitty prank like that. Fucking Lucas thought she was making, or that someone was making threats on my kinfolk.
It was the wrong audience, as I said.
Wrong audience, it was the wrong whole idea.
He just shakes his head with a smile.
Even when I did figure it out, I had no idea what she was actually mad about.
Once I heard about the spider attack, it was pretty obvious to me what the dolls were supposed to be.
Yeah, they were supposed to be her, trapped in a web.
Yeah.
But that apparently wasn't her point. She didn't care that she was in webs, according to her. She cared that I made the wrong decision, not that it ended up with her in webs.
Oh, no, she cared that she was in webs. Don't let
I know she did. She lied, but...
Yes, of course she did. I lie.
At least you lie convincingly. Kind of hard to pretend that's not the problem when it's kind of the whole theme of your prank.
Well, she's a silver fang. She's got to hold her head up high.
She just kind of shakes her head.
I just need y'all to be able to work together.
Of course we can work together. I think it was a stupid prank. I think it was poorly done, but it doesn't mean I'm going to ruin a fucking battle over it. That's stupid. I'm not going to hold it against her. I'm going to be annoyed about it because it made me look bad, to
You
you.
tell her you learned something.
I learned she was petty. How about that?
No. It's not petty.
She even admitted it was being petty.
Well, she's wrong.
Why do I have to be the bigger man?
He shrugs.
I will tell her I learned, but I will tell her it was from you,
No.
and that going to you was the good decision. Yes, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have learned anything. I would have just decided she was being petty, and I wouldn't have even thought twice about it. You said yourself that calling attention is half the job. And she did do that.
She gave the lesson. I just helped you see it.
She didn't give me a lesson. She just yelled at me about being stupid for, what, like 20 minutes in the early ass fucking morning.
As I said, she's got stuff to learn. That may work on Olaf. Maybe. And he kind of hems and haws it a little bit. Maybe.
I'll let her know that she taught me the lesson, but I don't want her to think that it was because of the way that she pulled the prank. That wasn't what taught the lesson.
That's
I'll
fair.
concede the point, but I'll make my own. And I'll be polite.
He nods. That's all I could ask for.
And she'll look kind of calm for a second and then kind of flick her head around again. Why does everyone think I'm going to make a big thing out of this? Why does everyone think that I'm going to do something crazy?
Because we're werewolves, Maeve.
Am I the crazy doing kind of person?
We all are.
Even the Ragabash has a bigger temper than I do.
Not me.
Talking about Senna.
Maybe.
I didn't say as much rage or more rage. I said a bigger temper.
Maybe.
Fine. I'll talk to her. I'll do the thing. I'll be good.
Good. Because we got war coming.
Yep. You sure you still want us to do this pack thing before this all goes down?
How long you looking at?
I don't know. I know that if we want to talk to Anaconda, we're going to have to go to the fucking Amazon.
We got moon bridges.
Yeah, Olaf doesn't seem to be convinced that the moon bridge is going to be especially safe. That, and we're going to have to go through Ptah to get there.
Okay. Easy enough.
Like, you know the Amazon's like a massive war zone. Talk to Olaf about it. He'll go on for like 15 minutes without breathing. It's
no,
impressive.
I know. I've heard several times bad shit. Yes.
I mean,
things first.
yeah, pretty much.
Even on about him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On and on and on.
Who hasn't heard of him?
Well, I mean, I hadn't until now.
Yeah, I know, but you got an excuse. Here's the thing. Being under a totem, it's important.
No, I agree.
I never realized how important until I was under one myself.
I just hope we aren't gone long.
Me neither. But we need packs at full fighting strength.
Okay. Is there anything else you want me to do?
So right now, nope.
Okay. I'll leave you and your dirt and your tactical rocks.
And then he wipes his face as if he's wiping sleep from his eyes. Yeah.
You want some coffee at least?
No. I've already had like 4 cups or something. I don't know.
Alright, well, I'm gonna go find Lucas and get him to grab my books.
You can't carry him yourself?
I didn't want to attract attention by walking through the Tellurian. It's getting dark. People aren't supposed to really be in the park anymore. I was going to dedicate all those individual... And she kind of points off that away, tucked up in a bush, next to this and this tree, by this and this landmark.
Yep, be careful.
Yep. Alright, Garrett. I'll check in with you later. I'll let you know if I hear anything else weird.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good night.
Alright. Night. And she'll kind of turn and ruffle her hair a little bit and kind of glance around as if Lucas will magically appear, because God knows he does half the time.
And then Garrett will start pacing around his little dirt drawings in circles. Arms crossed.
Poor Garrett. And with those shenanigans done, we will end our scene and say thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we will see you next time on Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.